Oh, hey!
I didn't see you there.
I'm David Wagner.
And I'm David Schroeder. But actually that's not quite true. I'm a series of ones and zeros representing an analog phenomenon of photons and sound waves bombarding you at ludicrous speeds.
But that's dehumanizing.
Anyway.
But how are these series of ones and zeros captured anyway?
With digital camera CMOS sensors.
Now what we'd like to do is give you a thorough demonstration of how cameras operate, from capturing the picture to how the image is then digitalized. But first we need to obtain a picture, and for that we're going to join our man on the field, David Wagner. Here we have the camera from earlier, taken apart. It was a safe process and fun for the whole family. At the heart of every camera is the lens. Light will travel through from the outside through the lens, and it'll strike the back where the CMOS sensor is located. CMOS sensors for cameras are filled with active pixel sensors. These sensors are composed of a photodiode and an amplifier. And so what are you doing over there, David?
Oh, what I've got going on right here is a photodiode. So when photons of light are going to come in and hit this, they're going to create a voltage across the photodiode. This voltage is very small. If we graph the voltage, it looks something like this. Maybe a millivolt or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to run this voltage through an amplifier to increase the voltage.
And why do we want to increase the voltage, David?
I'm glad you asked that. So when we have this super small voltage that indicates brightness of the light that's coming in, the number of photons, it's really difficult to compare it to other pixels voltages, because if you have 1 millivolt and then 0.09 millivolt, your comparator that's comparing them to give you your different shades of brightness in your photo has to be super, super precise. So if we amplify this voltage, make it look something like this, if we have, maybe 1 volt or 0.9 volt, there's a much bigger difference between these than there is, looks like the same line.
And we do that by adding an amplifier into the pixel sensors?
Absolutely. Throw a resistor on here. And then we get a big voltage.
Now that we've received our voltage from the CMOS sensor, we're going to send it to a comparator. A comparator takes in the voltage and it helps us determine how bright this pixel is. So, comparators work off of bits, and bits are either a 1 or a 0. If we had a 1-bit comparator, it would have two options, either a 0 or a 1. Now let's say that a 1 was white and a 0 was black. Now that doesn't really yield that great of an image, as you can see here. But let's say we had a 2-bit comparator. So that would be 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. That is 4 different combinations which will yield in 4 different brightness levels. Let's say we have black, dark gray, and a light gray, and then white. As you can see, gives us a little bit better of a picture than the 1-bit comparator, but it's still not a very accurate representation of the world we live in. But if we add more bits, let's say we have 8 bits, that's 2 to the 8th, which is 256. That'll give us 256 shades between white and black. Actually, it's 254 if you include white and black. But as you can see, it's getting a lot better. And if we keep going, let's say we have a 16-bit comparator. That's, carry the 2, 65,536. As you can see, this one leads to a lot better dexterity, and it gets us a lot closer to the analog world that we live in.
So David, we have brightness, but what about color? To determine color in a camera sensor, the sensor uses what's called a Bayer array, which, much like a pixel, which outputs the intensity of brightness, the Bayer array will output the intensity of a specific color of light. A pixel groups 4 of the units in a Bayer array, 2 greens, a red, and a blue. Each of these units only accepts its primary color and bounces the others. These color units output the intensity of the light they're receiving, so the photo now has color. But it looks like this, just a mosaic of red, blue, and green pixels. To get all the different colors, the image has to undergo demosaicing, which is accomplished by running the voltages through a comparator which determines what color the pixel is. Maybe we've got no red light and equal amounts of blue and green, so we'll get this nice light green going on for the pixel's color. The next pixel could have no blue and equal red and green, making this nasty mustard brown color, and the next could be no blue and twice as much green as red, yielding this kind of olive vomit look. Manufacturers often group together these color sensors with the sensors of adjacent pixels, giving increased color accuracy. For a camera sensor with 8-bit pixels, this gives 2 to the 8th shades of gray, but way more colors. The 8 gets multiplied by 3, for the 3 different possible colors, and that yields 2 to the 24th colors, which is often called true color. This is what computer monitors and TVs display.
Now with the CMOS sensor, it doesn't take in all the information from the comparator and the Bayer array all at once. No, it takes it in on a line-by-line basis. So that means it's going to start on one side of the image, then it's going to scan it. Then it's going to go up a line, scan it again, up another line, and scan it again until it's all the way done. Now, as you might be able to imagine, this leads to some pretty interesting phenomena. What you're about to see is not the result of Photoshoppery or computer wizardry. Have you ever taken a picture and then noticed that something is not quite right? Well, there's a perfectly calm and rational explanation for this. Sometimes digital cameras can lie to you. The pictures shown here demonstrate a phenomenon known as rolling shutter, which is often observed in cameras using CMOS sensors. The most amusing way to examine rolling shutter is when we look at propellers. These propellers often look bent, warped, and even completely disattached from the shaft. This is a result of how the CMOS sensor takes in information. As mentioned before, CMOS sensors scan line by line to capture the data. Although these sensors are really fast, there is still a time discrepancy. This means that there is a delay from one end to the other. As demonstrated here, this propeller is spinning fast enough to interfere with the rate the CMOS sensor is taking in information. Most CMOS sensors are incredibly fast, so rolling shutter does not often affect your day-to-day activities, so you don't need to be worried about your chap snats and your hipstergrams looking something like this. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Hope you learned something.
Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe.
Pin, retweet, add me to contacts and LinkedIn. Oh, and I'll see you in heat transfer.